Our sister RP is in the place to be. What's up, sister?
Et Sin E. How you doing?
Et Senate E. I'm doing nefer.
Oh, great, great. Um, well, I got it today. I was thinking it was coming from France, but then I did the tracking and it was outside actually when I went to check, and here it is.
Oh, that's what's up. It's just like my hat. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Let me do the solo layout. There it is, brothers and sisters. That's
yeah.
what's up.
I really like this. Yeah, so I have an after school program that I help facilitate. And I'm going to wear this because we're going to start talking about coding. So I'm going to
Okay.
use this as an introduction because this is a code. It's
Mm.
ancient code, but it's still a code. And then we're going to be able to, demonstrate. I'll be able to demonstrate to them the meanings inside each of the, glyphs and stuff. So, but yeah, I was looking online and I was like, this is actually like really good designs. So as soon as I get some more, extra money, I'm gonna get the matching hat, and I want to get a Ma'at shirt. But I really like the Kemet one to start with. Yeah, so it's really good, and the prices ain't bad either. So
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
you
Donnie
know what?
Williams wrote. Yes, go ahead,
Hmm?
sister. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that boonie cover, the hat. I don't know what they call. I call it a boonie cover. I really like that with the
The bandana?
nah. It's
The cover, the protection cover thing.
yeah, it goes all the
Yeah.
way around. That's the one I want to get next too. Yeah.
You. Oh, do you mean that?
It's a hat that I don't know what they call it. It's like a
Oh,
beach
like a
hat.
beanie low,
Ye-
like a hat for winter, like.
Or that you would wear if it's sunny, but it goes all the way around.
Oh yeah, I get it. I get it. Oh, okay. I didn't even know that was added. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All
like
right.
that one
Okay.
too. But
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
got it. Proud owner of my own my Out
Kemet shirt.
Forever shirt. Kemet. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. Hey, brother Donnie Williams. See, you got your mail.
Yeah, yeah. What's up, Shaka? I was gonna do just I know it's a serious topic, but I was gonna do a little
No, no, I appreciate that, bro. I'm
unboxing.
glad.
So
I'm glad. Yeah, yeah. Live
yeah.
unboxing, bro. You don't mind if I use this excerpt, like as a clip, my
No,
intro?
no,
Oh,
it's all
thank you,
good.
thank you. And
Yeah.
for those who wonder, I'm gonna share the link. All right, that's lovely.
Yeah, I got the Heather Gray. Oh man, yeah.
Oh, you got the
I
Kemet
didn't,
shirt as well. Okay,
yeah. I didn't know it had that on the back
in the
though.
back. Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice. That's what's up,
that's
man.
lovely. Oh, thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
yeah. So just letting you know, just coming through, showing some support real quick, man. I'm about to get back into this Netflix film. So um, just wanted to say peace, man, and thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, brother.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Hotep Senu Hena Senut, Yitiren Ishakanduku Kemet. I just received my art shirt. That's the white one. I do have the black one as well. Look at this motif on the sleeves. Looking fly. Oh my goodness. Oh my Neferu. Neferbu. Even have it in the back, but it's going to be a bit difficult for me to show you. But you see a little bit of it here. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And this is the black Ma'at shirt. Look at this, man. That's what's up for real. Oh my Neferu. Neferbu. Hotep Senu. Hena Senut. E.T. Ren E. Shakandugu Kemet. That's the deal. Can't even check the design in the back. Hold on. Hold on now. Oh my goodness, man. All the way in the back. You got it all, man. You got the hat, you got the bandana, you got the shirts, you got the hoodies coming soon. I mean, you have it all. All right? Hotel.
to do mic check. Is it loud? Or is it? I don't know why it goes all the way. Okay. Hotep Senuhena Senut Itiren Ishakan Kukemet. The title of this video, of this live stream is Was Champollion, Father of Egyptology, Afrocentric? Now I want you to put founder and father of Egyptology, but you know, the shorter your title is, the better, you know. Now you pronounce it Champollion, you pronounce it Champollion, not a big deal. Just like you pronounce champagne, we say champagne. Same word, different pronunciation. Okay. First link. The other one, you know what? The other one may be on archive.org. Now, hold on. It may be on archive.org, but that's a French one anyway. The original, let's say. National Library. You have it on download. Hold on. I need it. Hold on. Archive.org. Okay. And look. That's the one. That's good. All right. So here you have the original in French. Oh. No, that's the one. It's not going to be on much use, you know, but you know, just for the record, I will go over the original in French. I will have the English translation in Dr. Sheikh Anta Diab's book. English translation. Yep. Oh snap. I don't know if it's gonna fit. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't fit. Okay. Let me remove that. Okay, it works. I can remove just the second part of the link. Okay. Let me share the screen. So you just need to go to the previous page. It's a shame we don't have page numbers. Okay, there it is. So you just need to go to that page where we can see, is it shown properly? Yeah. I think there's a view. There should be a view. Could have sworn there's an option to have the view, not the reading view, but hey. Okay. So here it says, let us start with the oldest of these. That of Champollion the Younger, set forth in the 13th letter to his brother. It concerns bas-reliefs on the tomb of Sesostris I, also visited by Rienzi. These date back to the 16th century BC, 18th dynasty, and represent the races of man known to the Egyptians. This monument is the oldest complete ethnological document available. Here is what Champollion says about it. Right in the valley of Bidan el Moluk, we admired, like all previous visitors, the astonishing freshness of the paintings and the fine sculptures on several tombs. I had a copy made of the peoples represented on the bas-reliefs. At first, I had thought from copies of these bas-reliefs published in England that these people of different races led by the god Horus holding his shepherd's staff were indeed nations subject to the rule of the pharaohs. A study of the legends informed me that this tableau, or table, that's French for table, has a more general meaning. It portrays the third hour of the day, when the sun is beginning to turn on its burning rays, warming all the inhabited countries of our hemisphere. According to the legend itself, they wish to represent the inhabitants of Egypt and those of foreign lands. Thus, we have before our eyes the image of the various races of men known to the Egyptians, and we learn at the same time the great geographical and or ethnographical divisions established during that early epoch. Men led by Horus, the shepherd of the peoples, belong to four distinct families. The first, the one closest to the god, has a dark red color, a well-proportioned body, kind face, nose slightly aquiline, long braided hair, and is dressed in white. The legends designate this species as Rod en Nerome, the race of men per excellence or par excellence, i.e., the Egyptians. Now, this is really a remech, but the knowledge of the Medu has evolved. There can be no uncertainty about the racial identity of the man who comes next. He belongs to the black race designated under the general term Nahasi. This is really Nahasi, but the third presents a very different aspect. His skin color borders on yellow or tan. He has a strongly aquiline nose, thick black pointed beard, and wears a short garment of varied colors. These are called Namu. It's okay. The Asiatics is Amu, Amu. Mind you, Champollion lived, like in the 19th century, that's 1800s, Finally, basically 200 years ago. Finally, the last one is what we call flesh-colored, a white skin of the most delicate shade, and nose straight or slightly arched, blue eyes, blonde or reddish beard, tall stature, and very slender, clad in a hairy ox skin, a veritable savage, meaning a true or real savage, tattooed on various parts of his body. He is called Tamahu. Now, Dr. Donna Manish Reynolds, she's of the opinion that the Tamahu were black people, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. I hastened to seek the tableau corresponding to this one in the other royal tombs, and as a matter of fact, I found it in several. The variations I observed fully convinced me that they had tried to represent here the inhabitants of the four corners of the earth, according to the Egyptian system, namely, 1, the inhabitants of Egypt, which by itself form one part of the world; 2, the inhabitants of Africa proper, blacks; 3, Asians; 4, finally, and I am ashamed to say so, since our race is the last and the most savage in the series. Europeans who, in those remote epochs, frankly did not cut too fine a figure in the world. In this category, we must include all blondes and white-skinned people living not only in Europe but in Asia as well. Their starting point. This manner of viewing the tableau is all the more accurate because on the other tombs, the same generic names reappear, always in the same order. We find there Egyptians and Africans represented in the same way. Champollion, the father of Egyptology, founder of scientific Egyptology, even though the first Egyptologist in the world was an African Kemetic priest. I'm going to share the video so people can see it. First Egyptologist in the world was an African Kemetic priest. Yes, a Kemetic priest. Yes. Son of Ramesses II. Yes. Those who like Wikipedia, you can go on Wikipedia, you will find out. Boom. Now, I don't even know why I don't have the full view. Hold on. Damn, it wasn't moving. I had the wrong page, man. Damn it. Oh, snap. Damn. All right. Start over again. Okay, so we can read along. Should have checked that. But nobody even told me in the chat. Nobody said, hey, Shaka, we cannot read along. Bennett is in the place to be hotep to you. Donnie Williams wrote Hawass, that's Zahir Hawass, blames Diop for saying Egyptians were black. I don't think he will blame Diop only, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. We have the visual evidence. Like Amenhotep III, who is right behind me. That's in the Louvre Museum. Young Heroes in the place to be. What's good, brother? So let's read along. It's going to be better this way. Let us start with the oldest of these, that of Champollion the Younger, set forth in the 13th letter to his brother. It concerns bas-reliefs on the tomb of Sesostris I, also visited by Rienzi. These date back to the 16th century BC, 18th dynasty, and represent the races of man known to the Egyptians. This monument is the oldest complete ethnological document available. Here is what Champollion says about it. Good. Right in the valley of Bidan el Moluk, we admired, like all previous visitors, the astonishing freshness of the paintings and the fine sculptures on several tombs. I had a copy made of the peoples represented on the bas-reliefs. At first, I had thought from copies of these bas-reliefs published in England that these peoples of different races, led by the god Horus, holding his shepherd's staff, were indeed nations subject to the rule of the pharaohs. A study of the legends informed me that this tableau or table has a more general meaning. It portrays the third hour of the day, when the sun is beginning to turn on its burning rays, warming all the inhabited countries of our hemisphere. According to the legend itself, they wished to represent the inhabitants of Egypt and those of foreign lands. Thus, we have before our eyes the image of the various races of men known to the Egyptians, and we learn at the same time that the great we learned at the same time the great geographical and ethnographical divisions established during that early epoch. Men led by Horus, the shepherd of the peoples, belong to four distinct families. The first, the one closest to the god, has a dark red color. That's really brown, but a well proportioned body, kind face, nose slightly aquiline, long braided hair, and is dressed in white. The legends designate this species as Rod en Nerome, the race of man par excellence, i.e., the Egyptians. So this is Remech, all right? That was 200 years ago. We pronounce it Remech, It's a glyph that I've shown you, You have it on French book cover of Dr. Diop's magnum opus, La Sonericulture. You have it on Manu Mpim's website. If you put Manu Mpim, MANU space AMPIM, and you put Ramesses III, then you will have the legend, and you will see a glyph that has the shape of a mouth, but it stands for the R sound, and then you have a glyph that, is sometimes described as a chord, that's a ch sound, and the M doesn't appear, but it is pronounced MH, Though I've seen it once spelled with the M, it was either the owl or the animal rib. That was a while back, and I thought I would see it again, but I did see that word spelled completely. Once again, we have abbreviations too. We can put PT dot, and we know stands for part. But anyway, I digress. There can be no uncertainty about the racial identity of the man who comes next. He belongs to the black race, designated under the general term Nahasi. So that would be Nehesi, The third presents a very different aspect. His skin color borders on yellow or tan. He has a strongly aquiline nose, thick black pointed beard, and wears a short garment of varied colors. These are called Nahamu. Not Nahamu, sorry, Namu. Now, this is really Amu. The generic term for Asiatics in Medu Neter is Amu. Okay? Once again, Champollion wrote 200 years ago. The knowledge of the Medu Neter has improved. Finally, the last one is what we call flesh-colored, a white skin of the most delicate shade, a nose straight or slightly arched, blue eyes, blonde or reddish beard, tall stature and very slender, clad in a hairy ox skin, a veritable savage tattooed on various spots. The baby girl was talking to me. A veritable savage tattooed on various parts of his body. He is called Tamahu. So veritable, you can use the word true or real. Andrew Robin is in the place to be. Champollion, Jean-François Champollion. Who did he describe a veritable savages? We'll see. I hastened to seek the tableau corresponding to this one in the other royal tombs, and as a matter of fact, I found it in several. The variations I observed fully convinced me that they had tried to represent here the inhabitants of the four corners of the earth. According to the Egyptian system, namely 1, the inhabitants of Egypt, which by itself form one part of the world; 2, the inhabitants of Africa proper, blacks; 3, Asians; 4, finally, and I am ashamed to say so, since our race is the last and the most savage in the series, Europeans, who in those remote epochs frankly did not cut too fine a figure in the world. In this category, we must include all blondes and white-skinned people living not only in Europe but Asia as well. Their starting point. This manner of viewing the tableau is all the more accurate because on the other tombs, the same generic names reappear always in the same order. We find there Egyptians and Africans represented in the same way. Champollion, the father and founder of Egyptology, scientific Egyptology, has said that in the tombs, royal tombs, we find Egyptians and Africans represented in the same way, which could not be otherwise. Which could not be otherwise. But the Namu, which really is Amu, the Asians or Asiatics as we say today, and the Tamahu or Temehu, Europeans. And once again, Dr. She had a PhD recently. Dr. Dana Manish Reynolds is of the opinion that the Tamahu were black people. And if I'm not mistaken, she argues that in Golden Age of the Moor, but anyway, that's just, decoration. So, and the Tamahu Europeans present significant and curious variants. Instead of the Arab or the Jew dressed simply and represented on one tomb, Asia's representatives on the other tombs, those of Ramesses II, etc., are three individuals: tan complexion, aquiline nose, black eyes, and thick beard, but clad in rare splendor. In one, they are evidently Assyrians. Their costume, down to the smallest detail, is identical with that of personages engraved on Assyrian cylinders. In the other are Medes, or early inhabitants of some part of Persia. Their physiognomy and dress resemble feature those found on monuments called Persepolitan. Thus, Asia was represented indiscriminately by any one of the peoples who inhabited it. The same is true of our good old ancestors, the Tamahu. This is Champollion who said, our good old ancestors, the Tamahu. Their attire is sometimes different. Their heads are more or less hairy and adorned with various ornaments. Their savage dress, I mean, he likes that word savage, man. That's Champollion, it's not me. Their savage dress varies somewhat in form, but their white complexion, their eyes and beard all preserve the character of a race apart. I had this strange ethnographical series copied and colored. I certainly did not expect on arriving at Bidan el Molouk to find sculptures that could serve as vignettes for the history of the primitive Europeans, if ever one has the courage to attempt it. Nevertheless, there is something flattering and consoling in seeing them, since they make us appreciate the progress we have subsequently achieved. For the record, that's the end of the quote of Champollion. Dr. Shankar wrote, for a very good reason I have reproduced this extract, as Champollion Figeac published it, rather than take it from the new edition of the letters published in 1867 by the son of Champollion the Younger, Chéronée Champollion. The originals were addressed to Champollion Figeac, therefore his edition is more authentic. So Champollion Figeac, that's the brother of Jean-François Champollion, okay? What is the value of this document for information on the Egyptian race? By its antiquity, it constitutes a major piece of evidence which should have rendered all conjecture unnecessary as early as that very ancient epoch. The 18th dynasty between Abraham and Moses is talking about time period, because we don't have any attestation for their historicity. The Egyptians habitually represented in a manner that could not possibly be confused by white and yellow races of Europe and Asia, the two groups of their own race, civilized blacks of the valley and blacks from certain areas in the interior. The order in which the four races are consistently arranged in relation to the god Horus confers upon it the character of a social hierarchy. As Champollion finally recognized, it also brushes aside any idea of a conventional portrayal that might blur the two distinct levels and place Horus on the same plane as the personages, whereas in reality he should rightfully be in front of them all. It is typical for the Egyptians to be represented in a color officially called dark red. Dark red. Scientifically speaking, there is really no dark red race. The term was launched only to create confusion. There is no really black man in the exact sense of the word. The Negro's color in actual fact verges on brown, but it is impossible to apply an exact descriptive term to it, the more so because it varies from region to region. Thus, it has been noted that blacks in limestone areas are lighter than those elsewhere. Consequently, it is very hard to capture the Negro's color in painting, and one settles for approximation. The color of the two men closest to the god Horus is merely the expression of two Negro shades. If today a Wolof portrayed a Bambara, a Mose, a Yoruba, a Tukula, a Fang, a Mangbetu, and Baule, he would need as many, if not more, hues than there are on the two blacks of the bas-reliefs. Will not the Wolof, Bambara, Mose, Yoruba, Tukula, Fang, Mangbetu, and Baule still be Negroes? This is how the color difference between the first two men on the bas-relief should be interpreted. On Egyptian bas-relief, it is impossible to find a single painting which depicts the Egyptian in a color different from those of such Negro peoples as the Bambara, Agni, Yoruba, Mosi, Fang, Batutsi, Tukula, etc. If Egyptians were white, then all these forementioned Negro people and so many others in Africa are also whites. Thus, we reach the absurd conclusion that blacks are basically whites. On these monuments bas-reliefs, we see that under the 18th dynasty, all the specimens of the white races were placed behind the blacks, in particular the blonde beast of Gobino and the Nazis, a tattooed savage dressed in animal skin instead of being at the start of our civilization, which was still essentially untouched by it and occupied the last echelon of humanity. Champollion's conclusion is typical. After stating that these sculptures can serve as vignettes for the history of the early inhabitants of Europe, he adds, if ever one has the courage to attempt it. Finally, after those comments, he presents his opinion on the Egyptian race. Okay, I'm gonna move to the French, and then I'm gonna get people's opinion. Now, the French, I didn't share it yet, did I? Oh, maybe I shared it already before. Yeah, I shared it already there. I shared it already. It's in the chat. Okay, Lettre de Champollion le Jeune. Okay. There are like a few sentences, a couple of sentences at the beginning that don't appear there in the translation, but the upset that this is an excerpt. But anyway, for all purposes, so it's on page 300, if I'm mistaken, that it starts. But I'm gonna do this 300. 62. I need to go down a little bit more. Okay. I'm not going to read from archive.org. I'm going to read directly from the PDF that we shall have open in a tab. So if some of you, want to grab something to drink or to eat or use the bathroom, take advantage, because the majority of you will not understand because this is French, but I read it for all purposes. Some people understand English as much as French, and some of those who are bilingual will be like, man, he made that up, man. Dr. Diop made that up. I can't believe it is so. So I'm just going to read Champollion's original writing. So let me share the screen now. Storm is in a place to be. They're gonna be. It can be. For those who've seen the Boondocks, the episode where Uncle Ruckus does a DNA test, and he goes, "No, this can't be." Studying here. And that's page 299. Last paragraph. Dans la vallée proprement dite de Bidan el Molouk, nous avons admiré, comme tous les voyageurs qui nous sont précédés, l'étonnante fraîcheur des peintures et la finesse des sculptures du tombeau de Méneptah Ier, the cartouche says Men Ma'athara, but it's okay. Qui dans ces légendes prend les divers surnoms de Nubei, Datotei et Damonei, et dans son tombeau celui d'Osirei. Let's see if it works now. No more battery on my my earset. One, two, one, two. It works now. Make sure it's not too loud. It's all the way up. Let me reduce it. Okay. I can continue to start again. So, Nubei, Datotei et Damonei, et dans son tombeau celui d'Osirei, que j'avais cru d'abord être le nom propre et qu'on a généralement adopté depuis. Ici, I'm on page 300 now. Lettres et journaux. Champollion, indeed. Mais cette belle catacombe dépérit chaque jour. Les piliers se fendent et se délitent, les plafonds tombent en éclats et la peinture s'enlève en écailles. J'ai fait dessiner et colorier sur place les plus riches tableaux de cette hypogée pour donner en Europe une idée exacte de tant de magnificence. J'ai fait également dessiner la série de peuples figurés dans un des bas-reliefs de la première salle à piliers. J'avais cru d'abord, d'après les copies informes de ce bas-relief publié en Angleterre, que ces 4 peuples de races bien distinctes, conduits par le dieu Horus, tenant le bâton pastoral, étaient les nations soumises au sceptre du pharaon Méneptah. L'étude des légendes m'a fait connaître que ce tableau a une signification plus générale. Il appartient à la 3e heure du jour, celle où le soleil commence à faire sentir toute l'ardeur de ses rayons et réchauffe toutes les contrées habitées de notre hémisphère. On a voulu y représenter, d'après la légende même, les habitants de l'Égypte et ceux des contrées étrangères. Nous avons donc ici sous les yeux l'image des diverses races d'hommes connus des Égyptiens, et nous apprenons en même temps les grandes divisions géographiques ou ethnographiques établies à cette époque reculée. Les hommes guidés par le passeur des peuples, Horus, sont figurés au nombre de 12, mais appartenant à 4 familles bien distinctes. Les 3 premiers, les plus voisins du dieu, sont de couleur rouge sombre, taille bien proportionnée, physionomie douce, nez légèrement aquilin, longue chevelure nattée, vêtus de blanc, et leur légende les désigne sous le nom de Roth en Néromé, la race des hommes, les hommes par excellence, c'est-à-dire les Égyptiens. Les 3 suivants présentent un aspect bien différent. Peau de couleur chair tirant sur le jaune, ou teint basané, nez fortement aquilin, barbe noire, abondante et terminée en pointe, court vêtements de couleurs variées, ceux-ci portent le nom de Namu. Il ne peut y avoir aucune incertitude sur la race des 3 qui viennent après, ce sont des nègres. Ils sont désignés sous le nom général de Nahasi. Enfin, les 3 derniers ont la teinte de peau que nous nommons couleur de chair ou peau blanche, de la nuance la plus délicate. Le nez droit ou légèrement voussé, les yeux bleus, barbe blonde ou rousse, taille haute et très élancée, vêtus de peau de bœuf, conservant encore leurs poils, véritables sauvages. Tatoués sur diverses parties du corps, on les nomme Tamu. Non, je ne vais pas faire ça ici, Merde. Je me hâtais de chercher le tableau correspondant à celui-ci dans les autres tombes royales, et, en le retrouvant en effet dans plusieurs, Les variations que j'y observais me convainquirent pleinement qu'on a voulu figurer ici les habitants des 4 parties du monde selon l'ancien système égyptien, à savoir, premier, les habitants de l'Égypte. À savoir, premier, les habitants de l'Égypte qui a... Vas-y. Oh, maman. Vas-y, maman. Allez. Allez, allez, va voir maman. Méroute. Non, donne, donne, je vais ranger ça. Je vais ranger ça, donne. Va voir maman, j'ai dit. Va voir maman, Méroute, va voir maman. Bon. Oh my goodness, my nephew. So, I was at number 1. Gonna finish with this, it's important to have it for the record. 1. Les habitants de l'Égypte qui a, elle seule, formé une partie du monde d'après le très modeste usage des vieux peuples. 2. Les Asiatiques. 3. Les habitants propres de l'Afrique, les nègres. 4. Enfin, et j'ai honte de le dire, puisque notre race est la dernière et la plus sauvage de la série, les Européens qui, à ces époques reculées, il faut être juste, ne faisaient pas une trop belle figure dans ce monde. Il faut entendre ici tous les peuples de race blonde et à peau blanche, habitant non seulement l'Europe, mais encore l'Asie, leur point de départ. Cette manière de considérer ces tableaux est d'autant plus la véritable que, dans les autres tombes, les mêmes noms génériques réapparaissent et constamment dans le même ordre. On y retrouve aussi les Égyptiens et les Africains représentés de la même manière, ce qui ne pouvait être autrement. Mais les Namu, les Asiatiques et les Tamhu, les races européennes, offrent d'importantes et curieuses variantes. Au lieu de l'arabe ou du juif, si simplement vêtu dans le tombeau de Merenptah Ier, l'Asie a pour représentant, dans d'autres tombeaux, ceux de Ramès Meyamoun et de Meneptah II, 3 individus toujours atteints basanés, nez aquilins, œil noir et barbe touffue, mais costumés avec une rare magnificence. Dans l'un, ce sont évidemment des Assyriens. Leur riche costume, jusque dans les plus petits détails, est parfaitement semblable à celui des personnages gravés sur les cylindres assyriens. Dans l'autre, les peuples Médès. Ou habitants primitifs de quelques parties de la Perse. Leur physionomie et costumes se retrouvant en effet trait pour trait sur les monuments dits persépolitains. On représentait donc l'Asie par l'un des peuples qui l'habitaient indifféremment. Il en est de même de nos bons vieux ancêtres, les Tamhou. Leur costume est quelquefois différent, leurs têtes sont plus ou moins chevelues et chargées d'ornements diversifiés. Leurs vêtements sauvages varient un peu dans sa forme. Leur teint blanc, leurs yeux et leur barbe conservent tout le caractère d'une race à part. J'ai fait copier et colorier cette curieuse série ethnographique. Je ne m'attendais certainement pas, en arrivant à Bidan el Molouk, à y trouver des sculptures qui pourront servir de vignettes à l'histoire des habitants primitifs de l'Europe si on n'a jamais le courage de l'entreprendre. Leur vue a toutefois quelque chose de flatteur et de consolant, puisqu'elle nous fait bien apprécier le chemin que nous avons parcouru depuis. All right, how to do it. Now that it's done, you're free now. All the guys, all the men, women, all the ladies and gentlemen been saying, oh, you guys are Afrocentric. I want to know, man. Was Jean-François Champollion Afrocentric? Now, let's look up his biography, for lack of better words. All right. So I'm gonna put Britannica first. Then we're gonna go to, yeah, you have the link to get on the panel if you want to. So here, Britannica. Jean-François Champollion, French historian and linguist. Jean-François Champollion, born December 23, 1970, Figeac, France, died March 4, 1832, in Paris. French historian and linguist who founded scientific Egyptology. He founded scientific Egyptology and played a major role in the decipherment of Egyptian hieroglyphs. At age 16, Champollion had already mastered 6 ancient Oriental languages, in addition to Latin and Greek, and delivered a paper before the Academy of Grenoble, France, in which he asserted incorrectly that Coptic was the ancient language of Egypt. At 19, following studies in Paris, he became professor of history at the Lycée of Grenoble from 1809 to 1816. Deciphering hieroglyphs became his constant preoccupation. Following the modest success of English physicist Thomas Young in attempting to decipher the Rosetta Stone, which was engraved with a Greek text along with hieroglyphic and demotic versions, Champollion at last began to piece together the puzzle of the hieroglyphs. In 1821-22, he started publishing papers on the hieroglyphic and hieratic elements of the Rosetta Stone, and he went on to establish an entire list of hieroglyphic signs and their Greek equivalents. He was first to recognize that some of the signs were alphabetic, some syllabic, and some determinative, i.e., standing for a whole idea or object previously expressed. Though many doors still awaited opening, the key to understanding ancient Egypt had at last been found. His brilliant discoveries met with opposition, however, often bitter and personal from some other scholars. So some other scholars were salty. Champollion became curator of the Egyptian collection at the Louvre. 1826, conducted an archaeological expedition to Egypt. 1828, and received the chair of Egyptian antiquities, created especially for him. So you see that expedition to Egypt, 1828. We read some of the letters. You see, now if I'm not mistaken, that letter that I have read was May 26, 1829. But you know, you can always double check the date. At the Collège de France, 1831. In addition to an Egyptian grammar, 1836 to 41, and dictionary, 1841 to 43, he published his published works include Précis du système hiéroglyphique des anciens Égyptiens, 1824, Primer of the hieroglyphic system of the ancient Egyptians, and Panthéon égyptien ou collection des personnages mythologiques de l'ancienne Égypte, incomplete, 1823 to 25, and his English translation is Egyptian Pantheon or collection of the mythological figures of ancient Egypt. All right, now let's go to Britannica. I'm sorry, Wikipedia. Champollion. David is in the place to be. All those people who like to use the term Afrocentric, man, they're gonna have a hard time now. You're gonna have a hard time, man. It wasn't Cheikh who said that. Put the link here. Jean-François Champollion, also known as Champollion le Jeune, which means the younger, le jeune means the younger, was a French philologist and Orientalist known primarily as the decipherer of Egyptian hieroglyphs and the founding figure of the field of Egyptology. Partially raised by his brother, the scholar Jacques-Joseph Champollion-Figeac, Champollion was a child prodigy in philology. Giving his first public paper on the decipherment of Demotic in his mid-teens. As a young man, he was renowned in scientific circles and spoke Coptic, Ancient Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Arabic. During the early 19th century, French culture experienced a period of Egyptomania brought on by Napoleon's discoveries in Egypt during his campaign there, 1798 to 1801, which also brought to light the trilingual Rosetta Stone. But it's really bilingual. It's three scripts versus two languages. Scholars debated the age of Egyptian civilization and the function and nature of hieroglyphic script, which language, if any, it recorded, and the degree to which the signs were phonetic, representing speech sound, or ideographic, recording semantic concepts directly. Many thought that the script was only used for sacred and ritual functions, and that as such it was unlikely to be decipherable, since it was tied to esoteric and philosophical ideas and did not record historical information. The significance of Champollion's decipherment was that he showed these assumptions to be wrong and made it possible to begin to retrieve many kinds of information recorded by the ancient Egyptians. Champollion lived in a period of political turmoil in France, which continuously threatened to disrupt his research in various ways. During the Napoleonic Wars, he was able to avoid conscription, but his Napoleonic allegiances meant that he was considered suspect by the subsequent royalist regime. His own actions, sometimes brash and reckless, did not help his case. His relations with important political and scientific figures of the time, such as Joseph Fourier and Sylvestre de Sacy, helped him, although in some periods he lived exiled from the scientific community. So he was kind of against the grain, for lack of better words. In 1820, Champollion embarked in earnest on the project of decipherment of hieroglyphic script, soon overshadowing the achievements of British polymath Thomas Young, who had made the first advances in decipherment before 1819. In 1822, Champollion published his first breakthrough in the decipherment of the Rosetta hieroglyphs, showing that the Egyptian writing system was a combination of phonetic and ideographic signs, the first such script discovered. In 1824, he published a précis in which he detailed the decipherment of the hieroglyphic script, demonstrating the values of its phonetic and ideographic signs. In 1829, he traveled to Egypt, where he was able to read many hieroglyphic texts that had never before been studied, and brought home a large body of new drawings of hieroglyphic inscriptions. Home again, he was given a professorship in Egyptology, but only lectured a few times before his death. Before his health, ruined by the hardships of the Egyptian journey, forced him to give up teaching. He died in Paris in 1832, 41 years old. His grammar of ancient Egyptian was published posthumously. During his life, as well as long after his death, intense discussions over the merits of his decipherment were carried out among Egyptologists. Some faulted him for not having given sufficient credit to the early discoveries of Young, that's Thomas Young, the British dude, accusing him of plagiarism, and others long disputed the accuracy of his decipherment. But subsequent findings and confirmations of his readings by scholars building on his results gradually led to the general acceptance of his work, although some still argue that he should have acknowledged the contributions of Young. His decipherment is now universally accepted and has been the basis for all further developments in the field. Consequently, he is regarded as the founder and father of Egyptology. So the founder and father of Egyptology labeled the Europeans savages. The Afrocentric. You tell me. Let me play you a little something. Play a little something. What should I play? I don't want something long. Let's play this one.
Yeah, no, but it ain't the people, right? Let me help you out. I'm gonna help y'all out real fast in some language, and I know his audience is listening. Do you know the first language ever? Do you know the first language? Either one of y'all?
Well, brothers and sisters, brace yourself. You know, I don't know the first language ever. Apparently, he knows it. Let's listen.
Yes, baby language.
Baby language, right?
So, baby language is a language now? All right. Okay. If it's okay. Well, it's a language. We can learn it and we can speak it, right? Sounds pseudo, but it's okay.
Baby language is the first language. Is Gaga Goo, like Lady Gaga, Gaga Goo, baby speak. Who else speaks like that? Who else talks? Whoever this is, who you are, let me see your face first. Or you're not coming on. You can just sit back. So Gaga Goo is numbers, basically. Like most animals, numbers, hand signals, and stuff like that.
Is it serious right now? Gaga Google's numbers? You know, there's one thing I forgot, but you know, he did say that more means navigator. You know what I'm saying? You know, so if it's a nationality, you know, navigators is not supposed to be a nationality. You know, anybody can be a navigator. You know, it just takes a little training. You know, you don't need to earn a PhD to become a navigator, but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to the first language, Gaga Gugu.
Gaga Goo, it's numbers. Babies talk to one another. They talk. They're numbers. The other
They sure do.
right? They know what they communicate with each other. They be talking with each other. You notice that? They be sitting there talking to
each
other. You know what I mean? Like we don't know what the hell they saying. The other language, if y'all not familiar with this, and if
it's a language. How come we don't know what the hell they're saying? So it's an undeciphered language, then I guess.
You can probably find it. You should look that up too. Now, don't try to steal what I'm saying because it's going to be very hard. Give me 1 second.
Oh my nephew, no. Before I go to the comments, this description, savage and all that, it's not in the Medu Neter, it's not in the hieroglyphic. Champollion saw the painting in the royal tombs, and that's how he described it. I could have came up with a controversial title, like Champollion called Europeans savages, but you know, I'm being diplomatic. I want to focus on Afrocentric. They use that term so much. And you know, every time a black person, a black scholar, whether there is a PhD or not, state something, oh, that's an Afrocentric. Some black people say that too. I ain't gonna say no names, not for now. Love Me For is in the place to be. Love Me For wrote I don't know. Bennett wrote law. Don't try to steal what I'm saying, law. All right. Well, feel free. Anybody that's against Afrocentrics, you're welcome to. The only requirement is to use your webcam. I want to know what you have to say about Champollion. And he said that the Egyptians and all the blacks on the Hesi, Hesiu, and the Hesu, which are the Nubians, were represented in the same manner, which could not be otherwise. But I know they're going to freestyle over it. But it's not worthy. That's what he wrote. So where are you? Where are you? All those people who throw the term Afrocentric at every chance they get. Where are you? It's okay. You can holler in the comments. Quoi? Oh, maman? I bet they didn't tell you that. Told you he deciphered the hieroglyphs. He spoke so many languages. But I bet they didn't. They had him because you're not pseudo. So there's a brother. I'm going to show you the title of one of his videos. So here's a video from a brother. C'est quoi ton problème là? See this title? Hold up. Afrocentrics are racist as F and wrong. So, what Champollion said, is that Afrocentric? If a black guy would have said it, I'm sure they would have said it's Afrocentric. You can do the test. If some of you have YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying, just put the title, you know. That's what, you know, Europeans are savages. And if you want to, you know, take the phone all the way, you can say, says black scholar, says a black scholar. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to come in and they say, oh, my bad, it's Champollion said it. Young Hero, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, it was good, Chaka. What you talking about, man? What Champollion do?
Oh, you missed
So
it.
he was the father of what now? Egyptology?
Yeah, scientific Egyptology.
That's the so-called decipherment of the Melanetta.
That's the guy who's credited as deciphering the hieroglyphics indeed, yes.
So, well, what's your conclusion on that? Do you believe that?
I believe that he played the part in deciphering the hieroglyphics, yes.
Right. So why they call him the father like he was the only one?
Well, not because he was the only one, but because he was the guy who had the breakthrough, thanks to the Rosetta Stone and also some obelisks as well. But yeah, that's why he has that nickname.
So but he was disrespecting black people?
Oh, no, he described Europeans as savages when he went to the tomb. You know, like this painting here comes from some tomb in Kemet, you know, in the Valley of the King. So he went over there in the tomb and he saw how the ancient Egyptians, portrayed the Asiatics and the Egyptians and the Nubians and what he labeled the Europeans. And when he saw them, he said, real savages. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, what does the French consider themselves?
Oh, enlightened ones probably, but not savages. But that was Champollion. That's
Not Europeans.
come again.
Not Europeans.
I don't understand.
Basically, they classify themselves as different
The
than other white.
Europeans
No, the French.
or French are Europeans.
But this is what I'm saying. So Champollion is a European.
Yes.
So he was admitting that his people were savages
I wouldn't say admitting. He described
of what he saw, of
yeah
what he experienced.
what he labeled Europeans, basically white skinned people, blonde hair, blue eyed, white skinned people.
Right.
He used the term savage to describe them, but this is not written in hieroglyphic. This is not written in hieroglyphic. This is not something that the ancient Egyptians wrote. This is what he gave as a description.
Interpret.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's a opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
That was his description.
Right. So you said the university in Timbuktu is the first one.
Come again, please.
The first university.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
I don't know.
What you mean? You don't know who the first university was?
No, I don't know.
Oh, that wasn't in Africa?
Maybe, I don't know.
So what is his name? Timbuktu or whatever?
Well, that's Mali. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some before. Some people argue that maybe, in ancient Egypt there
So
was
why
one.
have on record that this Arabic woman in wherever have the first university?
Sabia Bay is pseudo. I don't pay attention to Sabia Bay.
I ain't talking about Sabia Bay. I'm talking about when you Google it.
Like university? Okay.
So the whole world is pseudo.
The whole world, not the whole world says that, but I can have a look at university on Google. I mean on Wikipedia.
Keep it real. Keep it real, man.
I'm keeping it real. Keeping it real. Now here, university. You know what? Let me do Britannica first. It's always better. Then we're gonna go to the good old.
Because if you conclude that Champollion is the father of Egyptology.
No, I don't conclude. That's a label or nickname that they gave you.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking where you at with it.
Yeah. So university, institution, or higher education. Okay. Early universities, the modern Western university evolved from the medieval schools known as studia generalia, where they generally recognized places of study open to students from all parts of Europe. The earliest studia arose out of the efforts to educate clerks and monks beyond the level of cathedral and monastic schools. The inclusion of scholars from foreign countries constituted the primary difference between the studia and the schools from which they grew. The earliest Western institution can be called a university. The earliest Western institution that can be called a university was a famous medical school that arose in Salerno, Italy, in the 9th century and drew students from all over Europe. It remained merely a medical school. However, the first true university in the West was founded at Bologna, that's still Italy, late in the 11th century. It became a widely respected school of canon and civil law. The first university to arise in Northern Europe was the University of Paris, founded between 1150 and 1170.
Whoa.
Now let's see what Wikipedia says. So, a university, from Latin universitas, a hall, is an institution of higher or tertiary education and research which awards academic degrees in several academic disciplines. Universities typically offer both undergraduate and postgraduate programs in the United States. The designation is reserved for colleges that have a graduate school. The word university is derived from the Latin universitas, magistrorum, et scholarium, which roughly means community of teachers and scholars. First universities in Europe were established by Catholic Church monks. The University of Bologna, Università di Bologna, Italy, which was founded in 1088, is the first university in the sense of being a high degree awarding institute, having independence from the ecclesiastic schools, although conducted by both clergy and non-clergy, using the word universitas, which was coined at its foundation, using secular and non-secular degrees, grammar, rhetoric, logic, theology, canon law, notarial law, history. Okay, I'm going to see what they're going to say about the first one, but they mentioning the one in Bologna. You know, I thought they would talk about other institutions from around the world. Oh, here. Antecedent. An early institution often called a university is the Haran University. Now, where is Haran?
Want to withdraw his money because the ID card number is different than the whole ID. Yeah, and niggas too.
Never him.
And call cops on your phone.
So the Haran University, also known as the Madrasa of Haran, was a medieval institution of higher learning in Haran, which is in modern-day southeastern Turkey. All right, let's continue. So, the Haran University, founded in the late 8th century, scholars occasionally call the University of Al-Qaraim. Where is that? That's Fez, Morocco. And the name was given in 1963, founded as a mosque by Fatima Al-Firi in 859, a university. Although, c'est quoi ton problème là? Okay, hold on. I have to go to sleep now because I'll be back. Okay, what was I? The University of Al-Qarain, name given in 1963, founded as a mosque by Fatima Al-Firi in 859, a university, although Jacques Verger writes that this is done out of scholarly convenience. Several scholars consider that Al-Qarain was founded and run as a madrasa until after World War II. For those who don't know what a madrasa is, it's the Arabic word for any type of educational institution, secular or religious, whether for elementary education or higher learning. But the funny thing is that, a lot of time it's used for a Quranic school, as in meaning Quranic school. So as a madrasa until after World War II, the date transformation of the Madrasa al-Qarawiyin into a university to its modern reorganization in 1963. In the wake of these reforms, al-Qarawiyin was officially renamed University of al-Qarawiyin 2 years later. Some scholars, including George Makdisi, have argued that early medieval universities were influenced by the madrasa in Al-Andalus, the Emirate of Sicily, and the Middle East during the Crusades. Norman Daniel, however, views this argument as overstated. Roy Lowy and Yoshihito Yasuhara have recently drawn on the well-documented influences of scholarship from the Islamic world onto the universities of Western Europe to call for a reconsideration of the development of higher education, turning away from a concern with local institutional structures to a broader consideration within a global context. So here they talk about medieval Europe and let me see, they have other parts of the world, medieval Europe, early modern university, so that would be modern, so that would be more recent.
Yeah.
And I guess we get a gist of it.
Yeah, it's a modern construct.
Yeah, we can say that. And here we have around the world, but that's probably recent. So just like if you better in the chat wrote, hold on. Pythagoras. Oh, we have Mr. Dredson. Pythagoras went to high school in Kemet. I don't know if it was a high school, but he said to have
Yeah.
learned in Kemet for
I
like
don't think he
22
had
years.
nothing such as high school.
Yeah. Now, feel free, Mr. Dredson.
Oh, greetings. I heard a part of the conversation when you mentioned about Afrocentricity, and one of my questions, I don't want to detract or get you off track too far, but I think some of the misconceptions are people look at Eurocentric study and they say that Afrocentric study functions and operates the same way and has the same purposes, and I don't think that's accurate. So could you maybe expound on that some? How do we define, how do we use Afrocentric studies, and how are Eurocentric studies defined, and how is that used?
Generally, people don't use the term Eurocentric. Now Afrocentric is really African centered, and we have several schools. We have some movement, and really I see it as just dealing with some parts of history that has been swept under the rug, for lack of a better word. Those scholars are dealing with facts, but many, when it comes to ancient Egypt, every time you people want to argue about the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians, and if they don't go with this consensus, then by default they will be labeled Afrocentrics. But not only with ancient Egypt, but also other areas, or other fields, or other areas of history, let's say. But the funny thing is that the visual evidence, like I said many times, behind me, that's Amenhotep III, one of the most powerful pharaoh ever, and I don't think many people will dispute that this person is a black man, and that's the grandfather of King Tut. So they're doing some facial reconstructions of King Tut, trying to make him look like an Asiatic or Asian, like we say today. But how can you have a grandfather that's black and he's just not black? And for the record, for those who don't know, I have plenty of other depictions, whether they are paintings or statues of ancient Egyptians, and they are as black, if not blacker, than this painting of Amenhotep III,
Yeah,
which
them
is in the
guys
Louvre
were
Museum.
having a ridiculous conversation. And it's a guy from the islands too that was pushing the issue. And I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? He said that they telling them that they used to use the word camo, different reference as black land, black soil, black people. So even if the word black itself did not exist, the definition existed in different terms, which
Yes, in different
means was,
languages.
yeah, exactly, with the color. But they keep pushing the narrative. This guy gonna say that the whole his interpretation is that the whole concept of black came after the Atlantic trade slaves, so it's only the people in the diaspora that's considered black. I'm like, that's
Who says that?
some guy named Stoopies or something. Like, he be on everybody's channel.
Oh, that guy. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that the one who told me to take up Garfield's proposition? Basically, Garfield. When I mentioned that Garfield sent an invoice of $1,800. That's $1,800 to show his degree. He said, "Well, take him up on it." You know, now if it's not stupid, then I apologize, but I think he was the one. You know, so that makes him also pseudo by default. You know, to encourage someone to pay 18. No, it's okay. Sorry about this, brother. To encourage somebody to tell somebody to pay $1,800 to see a degree just because he's capping for the dude. You know, that's low. But go ahead, young hero.
Yeah, that's certainly ignorance because they're trying to separate themselves. Even if people from Africa have locations that they come from that have a specific name like Ghana or Nigeria, the people is still melanin people, which means color, which also means black. You could call it whatever you want, Negro, go back to ancient time. You know what I'm saying? So in saying that, they trying to say that the people in the diaspora, they are the one that's considered black or like, but they don't understand the concept, the color, the name were always there, but other people use it to classify melanated people in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? So even if they change the whole concept of what black is, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist before they did that.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, brother Young Hero, because here I'm going to share. That's a team online, but people can check other websites because indeed the Moors don't like to use the word black, for political reasons, or cultural reasons, and many of them we use the term melanated, like Tohaka Bay, for example. I mean, he also took it on steroid by saying that Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein were melanated. It's amusing to me, but it's good to have fun when we engage with this pseudo world. But here, for all those who use the term melanated, melanin, dark brown or black pigment found in animal bodies. 1832, modern Latin, with chemical suffix in. The first element is from Greek melas, genitive melanos, black. So those guys, they came up with a term in order to get away from black, and they're using another term, which obviously, ultimately means black. But MF Jensen, if you have other thing you want to say, feel free.
I don't know. I think when you mention Saddam Hussein, why would someone say that? Is it because they want to somehow
Tohaka Bay, he said that. I mean, Tohaka Bay said that.
That's the Moorish perspective, I guess, where they might have some people in history that they want to link to.
Well, I never heard any other Moors saying that. Well, actually, okay. Hold on. Booker T. Coleman, but now he's known as Kaba Kabene. Is it Kaba Kamene?
Kaba Mane, yeah.
Yeah, Kaba Kamene. But back when he used to go by Booker T. Coleman, he has his lecture, which is on YouTube, about the Moors, and he said Saddam Hussein was an African man, and I disagree with that. I think he got carried away, but I don't have anything, against Kaba Kamene, But I don't usually hear.
That's a stretch, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of we understand they have melanin in their blood, but that don't make them the same ethnic people. Can't hear you, Shaka.
No, and nobody's perfect, man. We all make mistakes. I made mistakes before. Yeah, feel free, brothers. If you want to add on.
It is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? So, who did he call the savages again? The Europeans specifically?
Champollion used the term savage, plural form actually, savages, to describe, what he labeled Europeans from the tomb of in Egypt, and once again, the word savage is not written in the hieroglyphs. It's not something he read. It's not something he translated. This is a word that he used, to describe those people. And he said, the Europeans, blah, 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 blonde hair and all that. I mean, I read it. Everybody can go back. I even gave the links so people can read, the original French, or they can read the English translation. We found in Dr. Shekontadio's book entitled African Origin of Civilizations, Myth or Reality. And that's a PhD. That's a black PhD. He's not FBA though, but you know. Yeah. Now let me check the chat here. We have now Viben is, clarified that it was a joke when he talked about, the high school in Kemet. Shenchi Kem is in the place to be with Hotep Sen E and Abed. So you can use henna if you want, rather than end, Can hear young Hair who's tired.
My bad.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
I thought I had
Bennett
you.
wrote, it's okay, brother, no problem. Bennett wrote, what would the type of school be considered in Kemet when a person like Pythagoras studied there? Well, that's an interesting question, because
What time was this time?
Well, let's see. Maybe they mention it on. I would say around 300 BC. But I may be off a century or two.
Whatever their language was and their definition for teachings or lessons.
Is it 300? Maybe it's between 4 and 200 BC. I would say. Well, actually, it's even
It's a white
earlier.
man.
So yeah, it was a Greek. It was Greek. So Pythagoras. Okay, let's do Egypt straight away. So the Athenian rhetorician Isocrates, who lived between 436 and 338 BC, was the first to describe Pythagoras as having visited Egypt. And is it the only time for Egypt? So here, repeated travels. Pythagoras is traditionally thought to have received most of his education in the Near East. Modern scholarship has shown that the culture of archaic Greece was heavily influenced by those of Levantine and Mesopotamian cultures. Like many other important Greek thinkers, Pythagoras was said to have studied in Egypt. And they give this person here, Just Gaudier, 2006, page 16. They give Reedweg, 2005, pages 7 to 8, and Gregory, 2015, pages 22 to 23. Now, by the time of Isocrates in the 4th century BC, Pythagoras' repeated studies in Egypt were already taken as a fact. And now here, what do they say here? The writer Antiphon, who may have lived during the Hellenistic era, claimed in his lost work on men of outstanding merit, used as a source for Porphyry, that Pythagoras learned to speak Egyptian from the pharaoh Amasis II himself, that he studied with the Egyptian priest Diospolis in Thebes, and that he was the only foreigner ever to be granted the privilege of taking part in their worship. Now here we are told the Middle-Platonist biographer Plutarch, writing his treatise on Isis and Osiris, that during his visit to Egypt, Pythagoras received instruction from the Egyptian priest Enophis of Heliopolis. Meanwhile, Solon received lectures from a Sonkis of Sais. According to the Christian theologian Clement of Alexandria, Pythagoras was a disciple of Sochis, or Sokes, I'm not sure you pronounce it, an Egyptian arch-prophet, as well as Plato of Seknoupis of Heliopolis. Some ancient writers claim that Pythagoras learned geometry and the doctrine of metempsychosis from the Egyptians. So here we have the 3rd century AD sophist Herostratus claims that in addition to the Egyptians, Pythagoras also studied under sages or gymnosophists in India. Here it says, Iamblichus describes Pythagoreanism as a synthesis of everything Pythagoras had learned from Orpheus, from the Egyptian priests, from the Eleusinian mysteries. okay, safe to say that many people said that he studied in Greece. I'm sorry, in Egypt. So yeah, that was just for the record. But as for his time period, that's between 570 to 495 BC. And it's the same for Thales, if I'm not mistaken. I put Thales, Egypt. So it is said that he was engaged in trade and visited Egypt or Babylonia. Several ancient authors assures that Thales, at one point in his life, visited Egypt where he learned about geometry. It is considered possible that Thales visited Egypt since Miletus had a permanent colony there, namely Naucratis. It is said that Thales had close contacts with the priests of Thebes who instructed him, or even that he instructed them in geography. So I never heard that before, that he instructed them in geometry. It is also possible Thales knew about Egypt from accounts of others without actually visiting it. Some people used to false flag, you know what I'm saying? You know, and yeah. So yeah, that was just for the record.
Mhm.
Shanji Kim wrote, Eurocentric may be considered African history that has been whitewashed. B. Bennett wrote, a person making stuff up. And he added, because people just wake up, because people just make stuff up when they are involved in cults. Yeah, when they're in cults, yeah, they make everything, they say anything just to try to look good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it looks like all those people like to say, "Oh, that's Afrocentric." It looks like they don't want it today. They don't want no smoke today. You know, they may need rest because of the
What
emotional
that have
damage.
to
Right?
what that have to do with Champollion saying the Europeans were savages?
But if a black scholar says that, they're gonna say that the black scholar is Afrocentric. It takes less than that for them to label a scholar Afrocentric.
Oh, okay. That's true. Got a point.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
That's why I read the French, so that they can know, hey, it is there. Diop, Dr. Diop didn't make that up.
Mm.
Mr. Dredson is back. Feel free, brother.
Oh, hey, yeah, I'm driving in the mountains a little bit. So, what I think overall, what I was trying to get at, and what I think you started to touch on was the compare and contrast the Eurocentric studies versus Afrocentric studies, and the way people use the term Afrocentrism, or they use the title Afrocentrism to dismiss or discredit the work of African or Black scholars. And when scholars on the continent of Africa, indigenous African scholars, are talking about African history, then it's automatically Afrocentric at its core because it's an African talking about Africa. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And it does not mean that there is inherent bias. But when you look at Eurocentric studies, it is inherently biased because what they've shown throughout history, many examples, is they use the Eurocentric study or narrative or objective to usurp some history or claim some history or achievement that should not be attributed to any European greatness or acumen. So that, to me, that's the biggest difference in the two. In Afrocentrism, if it's balanced and honest, then you just have an African-centered worldview. Which, if a Chinese man has a Chinese-centered worldview, so be it, and same for anybody else. But if an African descended person or an African has an Afro-centered worldview, then that's no need to, or that's no basis to discredit that person. So
You're right. They don't
Yeah,
say.
you might as
They
well
don't.
discredit everything else.
Yeah, they don't say, "Oh, that's Chinese centric," but indeed, when people use Afrocentric nowadays, particularly non-African centered scholars or people who describe themselves as African centered, when people use the term Afrocentric, it is indeed to discredit, the
Yes.
claims. That's mainly why it is used. You know what I'm saying? But once again, Brother M.F. Dredson gave the example of the Chinese. Nobody says it's Chinese centered. If Russians, would say something, nobody says it's Russian centered. Nobody says it's American centered or French centered or British centered or European centered. But they bring that, that's Afrocentric. But hey, it is what it is. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't help when people make pseudo claims. When we hear stuff like Gaga Googles and stuff like that, it just doesn't help us.
That's not
But
Afrocentric.
uh, well, some people will still label it that, because some people they have a reflex, like a black person says something that they disagree with, then they're gonna say it's Afrocentric. Or let's say a black person says something pseudo, they're gonna say it's Afrocentric. Just like at one point, some people used to use the term Hotep as a negative. You know what I'm saying? Tariq Nasheed did that. What's his name? Umar Johnson did that as well. Hey, it is what it is, man.
Because of the narrative Afrocentric. That's
No,
why they
because of the dislike for ancient Egypt, because those guys are primarily from Abrahamic background. I mean, Umar Johnson, he was known as Umar Abdullah Johnson. Abdullah means slave of Allah. Abdullah is an Arabic name. Now, Tariq Nasheed, we have Tariq, so it says it all. Nasheed doesn't really sound like, a British or, British name. So, many people have a real disdain for anything that has to do with ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? They think in their mind that the Exodus happened. That the sea parted in two and Pharaoh and his army died in the water. They think it's a historical fact. They think that God wrote the tables of the law on Mount Sinai with his hand or with his finger. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's written in the Bible. So
that's
Yeah,
a whole
I know.
nother episode. But
Yeah,
so I
but
think when it comes to Eurocentric studies, what they do, from what I can see, they take what they are guilty of and they accuse the opposition of doing that thing. Say take other achievements and try to claim them for their own, or they'll try
well,
to recolorize a certain person or character, and then they'll accuse Afrocentrism of doing that very thing that they do habitually.
yeah,
It's their primary mode of operation in Eurocentric history, to flip history completely around and just completely change it up to their benefits, to where they look like the heroes and try to achieve manifest destiny.
so
And then they can throw that back on Eurocentric scholars and say, oh, well, they're doing that because they have an agenda. When in reality, if you have all of these Eurocentric scholars in agreement, and one or two of them can write the narrative, and then their colleagues can all band around this narrative, now you have a bunch of historians citing other historians, and you have hundreds of years worth of scholarly work that now we have to contend with.
yeah, but the difference is that in 1974, Dr. Diop and Dr. Obenga, they went the scholarly route, and there was a Cairo
Yes.
symposium in 1974, and they argued for the blackness of the ancient Egyptians. So then, more recently, we had Dr. John Henry Clark, who debated Mary Leskovich, and she was with that other dude. I forgot his name, but he wasn't a PhD then, but now he's a PhD. He was he was in that documentary about the people from Sparta, but his name escapes me. So that was great, to have the opposing views in a scholarly manner. Now other people, they like to debate, what
so
is the earth flat or not, but some people, like some Hebrew Israelites, they
bro,
say that King James was black.
don't go
You
there,
know what I'm saying?
Shaka.
No, I went there. It's true. Some people,
Leave the flat earth thing alone, man.
yeah, no, but
But
there was a debate. Some people paid for a debate to
I
find out if,
know
and it wasn't
it's
directed
a
at you,
big discussion between.
Well, it's not a big
It was a
discussion.
big
It's
discussion back then. What's his name, Carl?
Galileo.
Galileo, yeah, it was a big thing back
Galileo,
then.
man,
So
that's
before,
first
hold
probably
on, hold on, hold on. Let me
14th
speak,
century, or
man.
if not earlier. You know what
Hold
I'm
on,
saying?
Shaka. I know it's your show, but listen.
No,
So
no,
the
but you're free. You're
whole
free.
Afrocentric concept came from Europeans.
Oh,
The whole narrative, Afrocentric, did it come from Europeans,
no,
scholars trying to credit black scholars or
no,
historians?
no, no, no.
So where did it come from our
It is
own time?
Afrocentricity. A lot of people say Afrocentrism, but Afrocentricity.
So let me ask you a question since you
Mhm.
want to go there.
Okay, go
Wasn't
ahead.
the ancient people or the Mayan people and all of them thought that the earth was flat
Come again with the question, please, about the Mayans.
before the Europeans or the whatever Greeks, whoever, in ancient time? Didn't they consider the earth to be a flat earth?
I don't know, man, but if in BC time they considered that, but more power to them. We have modern time, we have academia, we have scholarship, we have science, and
Well,
it's the same
hey,
science
don't
that we
try to
trust.
discredit them because you
No,
living in modern time now.
I'm not discrediting them. Many Muslims believe that the earth is flat because somewhere in the Hadith or Quran there's a description of
I
the
ain't
earth,
talking
and
about no biblical narrative, Shaka. Come on,
well,
now
that's
you ain't gonna
Islamic,
leave
not
them, man.
biblical. That's Islamic. But I'm
It's the
just
same
saying
thing.
this. Some people believe that the earth is flat because of their religion, just like it was the case with the Catholics. You know, so there is some writing either in the Quran or some Hadith, and there's a description of the earth, and it appears that it's describing a flat surface. So that's the reason why some Muslims believe that the earth is flat. So they will ride with this claim as well. But I'm pretty sure that there's many people who are scientists and they are Muslims and they know, and they will state for the
Nah, they
record that the
don't know.
earth
They
is a
just
globe.
conceive.
Well, we know, we have the footage, brother. We have the footage from the International Space Station,
you are
and
you
yeah,
always going back to that,
but it's the
man.
truth, bro. Like, it is there. We have the footage. So, we can say it's a big conspiracy, it's fake footage, but to me, it is real, and to many people as well.
They got to look up Eratosthenes. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Mm.
Eratosthenes. Are you familiar with that Greek mathematician?
No, not that one, no.
So he did an experiment where he measured the shadow of a tekken, also known as an obelisk,
Mhm.
and you measure the shadow during
It's
a
not
certain time of
Aristotle, is
day.
it?
No, no, not Aristotle, Eratosthenes.
There
And
is
he walked from one tekken to
Aristophanes.
another. Either he walked or he had one of his students walk, but they had a known distance from one tekken to another. They knew the length of the shadow at the same time of the day, and they were able to do the math from one tekken to another. Straight line math, and then the perimeter mathematics. All the mathematics that they learned in Kemet, they put it to use in their own studies and experimentation. But in measuring from one tekken to another and measuring the shadow, I say all that to say they figured out a ratio or a percentage of the perimeter of the Earth. So that was one example of Greek mathematicians using Kemetic mathematics to show and prove that the Earth was round. So I think, just in what I can see, there were ancient people that knew well that the Earth was round or globe or whatever you want to call it. It was a sphere, and I mean, I don't even know why we're having this conversation really, but
Mm.
I would say any indigenous culture that talks about the movement of stars, sun, and moon relationship to the Earth, all the mathematics that they use, all the tracking that they use, is all based on
They,
circular movements. It's all
yeah,
based on
they figure,
cycles, and it's all based on
yeah,
spheres.
yeah. People who watch the movements of the celestial bodies, they surely figured that the Earth is a globe, but and we're having these conversations because I always give that example. David Icke, that dude is talking about think we're losing Mr. Dredson. I think the connection is lost. David Icke talking about, the royal family, the British royal family are reptilians, you know what I'm saying? And this guy, man, he has followers for days, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Shaka, you don't know Shaka.
I don't know what, brother.
If they-
Don't tell me you believe that now, please.
I ain't say I believe that. You know I don't believe that. I'm saying you don't know
Okay, you
they're
scared me now.
reptilians, man.
You scared me now.
So who is this guy that say that?
David Icke, man. Look, man. Let's do
David
this, man.
Icke.
Let's do this, man.
I saw a video where they got
Uh,
President Biden look like he was wearing a mask, like he's not the real person.
and some people said that Gucci Mane it was a clone. It was a clone that that got out of jail or whatever. But here, David Icke, for those who don't know him, man. David Vaughan, I'm not sure how you pronounce that in English.
Oh, that
Vaughan Icke is an English conspiracy theorist and former footballer and sports broadcaster. He has written, over 20 books self-published since the mid-90s and spoken in more than 25 countries. In 1990, Icke visited a psychic who told him he was on Earth for a purpose and would receive messages from the spirit world. This led him to claim in 1991 to be a son of the Godhead and that the world will soon be devastated by tidal waves and earthquakes. He repeated this on the BBC show Wogan. His appearance led to public ridicule. Books Icke wrote over the next 11 years developed his worldview of a New Age conspiracy, reactions to his endorsement of an anti-Semitic fabrication, the protocols of the Elders of Zion in the Robbers Rebellion 1994, and the Truth Shall Set You Free 1995 led his then publisher to decline further books, and he has self-published since then. Well, I guess he had a lot of Muslim support because he talked about the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is really known as a hoax in academia. But if you go against Zionists, then you will have Muslim support. I contends that the universe consists of vibrational energy and infinite dimensions sharing the same space. It claims that that there is an interdimensional race of reptilian beings, the Archons of Anunnaki, which have hijacked the Earth. Further, a genetically modified human Archon hybrid race of reptilian shapeshifters. Shapeshifters! Oh, that reminds me of something.
You got
Hold on.
shapeshifters in there too?
Yeah. Let's listen to this.
Hootie, can you repeat that again, brother, please? We're going to cost you.
I heard what Hootie said.
I've seen Malachi in 3 different sizes. He went from 5'7", and he went to the size of about an 8-year-old child, and he was playing with the children. And I've seen him as taller than me. I've seen that with my eyes.
So wait a minute. Hold on. So what God did he invoke to help him do that?
I'm 6'5" now. I used to be 6'2". I'm 6'5" now.
Oh, you see him change sizes from height ranges from like what, 4.5 feet to 6.5.
Yeah, not just change size, but the whole body structure of like a child, like an 8-year-old child, and he was playing with the children as their size. He was their size, and he was playing with them as their size. I saw that.
Then you change back,
He said he saw it,
Yeah.
He was definitely playing with the children. Yeah, indeed. So shape shifting, where was it? Reptilian shapeshifters, the Babylonian Brotherhood, immunity or elite, manipulate events to keep humans in fear so that the Archons can feed off the resulting negative energy. He claims that many public figures belong to the Babylonian Brotherhood and propel humanity towards a global fascist state or New World Order, a post-truth era ending freedom of speech. He sees the only way to defeat such archontic influence is for people to wake up to the truth and fill their hearts with love. Critics have accused Icke of being anti-Semitic and a Holocaust denier, with his theories of reptilians serving as a deliberate code. Icke strongly denies this. Now, hold on. I'm going to put Royal. Royal. There it is. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, snap. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, snap. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, oh, sn Previous one. There it is. So that's going to be the last paragraph I think I will read, man, because as of 2003, I claims the reptilian bloodline includes all, then 43 American presidents, 3 British and 2 Canadian prime ministers, several Sumerian kings and Egyptian pharaohs, and a smattering of celebrities. Key bloodlines are said to include the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, various European aristocratic families, the establishment families of the eastern United States, and the British House of Windsor. Ike claimed he saw British Prime Minister Edward Hart's eyes turn entirely jet black while the two men waited for a Sky News interview in 1989. He confirmed to Andrew Neil in May 2016 that he believes the British royal family are shape-shifting lizards. So I've been saying reptilians, but a lizard is a reptile. In 2001, I said the Queen Mother was seriously reptilian. The Rothschilds, in Ike's opinion, are also blood-drinking Satan worshippers, which Daniel Addington and David Tube argued in 2018 was a part of a revival of medieval anti-Semitic attitudes towards the Jews. So I guess I can call it a day for now. It's a lot to process. But when I've been looking for the article, but when David hold on. He had a live stream on. He had a live stream on YouTube. Then he broke the record for the most people in attendance.
Yeah,
that's extremely popular, man. But go ahead, young hero.
Yeah, that boy guy, he know what he talking about, sucker.
No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just has, groupies, blind followers.
So yeah, but that's the same narrative, A lot of black people like to do that. Certain people, they like to say they're not human, they are clone, they died and they this and they that, and they never can make it out of jail. So everybody have their narrative about these superstition things, and it's all the same, come from the same talk, But yeah, man, like I don't like what you can't prove it, so why make sense even reference it,
Some people like conspiracy theories, man. Their life is boring. They don't have anything going on in their life. So, it's like the Truman Show, something to watch and be entertained, So they just, some pseudos, some people make a living out of being pseudos,
Yeah.
For the last 20 years, they've been traveling the world being pseudos,
But it's a fact that people do worship so-called Satan. I'm gonna come back to that word. Because they are people that have blood rituals and thing in their worships, that kind of way. So I wouldn't be surprised.
How do you know that, brother?
I got things out there, man, even on the internet, that these people cutting people and taking their blood and doing all kind of crazy shit.
How do they know? Did they see it?
Yeah, what you mean? They showing it on. You can have different sites out there that you could see these things.
So you're saying you've seen some blood ritual, brother?
Yeah, I've seen something like that already. Some woman standing up and the guy cut some kind of sign in her shoulder, back of her shoulder with a blade, and he's taking the blood and putting it in some kind of demonic statue looking thing, and everybody they look dressed up in some. You got people that really do these things, Shaka. Like you have from time I will go in school, you have those that dressed in all black makeup, black nails.
They are gothic people. We have a lot in England.
But they worship these things. They into these kind of things, Shaka.
They just like to
all
dress
these
in black.
People that
they're not.
Even if you don't believe in it, all these people that, and it's not thing into no race, have witchcraft and voodoo and all these things is rituals, right?
Not to me, man. I mean, in England, I've seen them. They just like to dress in black. A lot of them are into rock and roll.
What's the definition of Satan anyway?
Well, no, I'm not talking about Satan. I'm talking
adversary.
about Gothic people. You know what I'm saying? Now, Satan,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
that's religious. You know, that's
no, I'm
religious.
saying the definition of it. So you know, because so I heard it just meant adversary, like your opposition.
Well, you know, all those guys who say, you know, they're secret, like powerful people, you know, having, you know, blood rituals and all that. It's like David, no, David, what's his name again? The guy who has to cough up money now. Alex Jones. One of the things that made him famous is when he filmed from very far away, there was a fire and allegedly some world rulers, you know what I'm saying, that gathered together a party they do it every year, you know what I'm saying? So he got the cloud, he got the cloud from that, you know what I'm saying? Then he came up with all these, you know, new world order conspiracies, you know what I'm saying? The skulls and bones and the humanity, and you know, they're gonna insert some chip, some microchip into people, and then you know they're gonna get rid of the money. Everything's gonna be computerized, and you know, those things been floating on the internet forever. You know, before that, the aliens was the big thing. You know, flying saucers, aliens, Area 51,
Yeah, look like they
Roosevelt.
coming back.
No. They have upgraded their the pseudoism, if that's the word. You know, like some people update their scholarship. And those guys are
Yeah,
like, okay, everybody's talking about the aliens, everybody's talking about the UFOs. We gotta come up with something that sounds better. And then it's like, okay, all right, you know, Illuminati, skulls and bones, and you know, and David Icke, he took it. He was creative with it. He came up with this reptilian stuff. But you know, a lot of people, yeah, they kind of said the same thing. You know, the
yeah,
new world
like
order.
Farrakhan. He said, "Hey, man."
But he's with the church and Scientology, so he's also pseudo on some other level with his beliefs. But you know, hey, believe everybody's free to believe in whatever they want to. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah, Bohemian Grove. You know what I'm saying? Like where the world leaders supposedly meet. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, some people will be abused, but you know, anybody who claims you know they do blood rituals, how do they know? It's like Professor Griff, one of the most pseudo guy that the black community ever had. You know, talking about you know, oh, Michael Jordan, who did he lose? He's that.
Yeah,
Jenny,
yeah.
you know, yeah. Come on,
That's
man.
what I'm trying to tell you.
Give
Everybody
me a
just
break.
run with that narrative.
Give me a break.
It's called superstition, man. It's called theories, conspiracy theories.
For being pseudo, man. He got kicked out of Public Enemy, and then years later, he acts like he never got kicked out. And I guess he was like, okay, I have to come with something, so, some people, I guess they don't want to do the 9 to 5. I don't have anything against him personally, but I was so irresponsible to suggest or insinuate that those people lost their family members because it was some ritual sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's horrible. But if he loses some family member, people say, "Oh, you see, he, it was some ritual sacrifice." Come on. Of Mifro say, "Hold up, don't mess with my boy, Griff." Now, hey, maybe some people didn't hear it. Maybe some people didn't hear it. So, and maybe some people don't even know. So I'm just gonna play it. Hold on. I've put you on mute, MF Dredson, because there's a lot of background noise. I just want to play Professor Griff. He ain't gonna be long, so that people know, because they may just know Professor Griff being the Minister of Information for Public Enemy or something like that. But some people may have missed those terrible, horrible, irresponsible accusations that he made publicly. So I'm going to share the link in the chat and I'm going to play. Yeah, Hollywood is weird, but when he was, down with Hollywood, it was all good.
Operating that $20 million club. When you want to operate in that $20 million club and higher, $100 million club where these brothers were operating in, oh, you got to pay the price. You got to bond yourself to these people forever. Let's look at some of the other people that have bonded themselves to this demonic energy. Michael Jordan, who did he lose?
His
His dad. Bill Cosby, who did he lose?
His son.
I can go on and on. When Kanye West wanted to be up in that space so bad, he signed the oath, took the oath rather, and signed on, became a Mason and took the oath, wrote Lucifer, Son of the Morning for Jay-Z, and that was his initiation. And sure enough, he lost his mom. Jennifer Hudson wanted to be up in that space. Yep, her family got taken at it on some ritual killings. Are you following me? So we need to understand this particular thing. You're not going to operate up into the $50, $100 million club and you not pay the ultimate price now. Not the ultimate price, but make a blood sacrifice. Jay-Z was well aware of all of this. So they paid him off. How did they pay him off? They gave him Rockaware. They gave him Rockefeller Records, Rock Nation, Jay-Z Inc. What's the bad? Scion made a deal with him. Then the New Jersey Nets, he owns part of that. J Hotels, 4040 Club. I can go on, bro. And this is happening right before our eyes, man. So they niggerized the music. As soon as Jay-Z got made, he was made president of Def Jam. Guess who he signed? 2 known drug dealers, Young Jeezy and Rick Ross, who's going to perpetuate and carry on the madness and the negative demonic frequency. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
We need to understand that to that degree.
Now this is so pseudo because when it comes to rappers, it's not like Rick Ross and Jeezy are the only known quote unquote drug dealers. I mean, you probably have close to half, 50% of rappers who said that at one point in their life they had to slang that dope. But people can dispute the 50%. You know what I'm saying? But there's a good amount of rappers who've been rapping about selling that product. You know what I'm saying? But everybody had to lose a member, some ritual sacrifice, demonic frequency. But Jay-Z, no, he just paid them off, and they gave him Rockaware, 4040 Club, the hotels. You know what I'm saying? So Jay-Z somehow, some way, they liked him. Like, okay, we're gonna give you all of this. I mean, damn, if that is pseudo to the highest level of the physical and non-physical laws,
well,
man.
They're gonna say he sacrificed somebody.
Oh no, he didn't do that. No, he's righteous. He's not into that demonic frequency. No,
But they still give him everything, huh?
Oh, you mean? Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Griff. No, Jay-Z. No, Griff said that Jay-Z didn't have to sacrifice anybody. Jay-Z was well aware of that, and he paid them off. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else knew. Nobody paid them. Nobody else paid them off. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Nah, that's just pseudo. And I can't remember when that came out, but when that audio came out, oh yeah, you see, everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get rich today, just be pseudo. Just be pseudo. If you don't care about your integrity and your reputation, just be pseudo, man. You're gonna get rich, man. You're gonna get rich. Can invite Alex Jones, David Icke. You know what I'm saying? And people will talk about metaphysics. You're gonna get rich, man. The MF Dredson, yeah, feel free.
Yeah, so I sorry I'm in and out. I'm having some connection issues, but in any event, I think the people who believe that stuff, if I'm confronted with that type of conversation in day-to-day life or face-to-face, usually my response is to say, I'll play along. I'm like, all right, let's say it is true, because just sitting here now, I'm not going to be able to convince you that it's not, because you're having too much fun with it. You're passionate. It's cool, whatever. If it is true, what are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? And how is it going to affect you in your daily life and the struggles that face you and your community every day? How is it going to affect any type of significant change in your community? And let's say it is true, and now you cracked the code, you figured it out. Now what?
They aren't going to do nothing. They're going to buy bean pie. They're going to do the two-stepping. They're going to be clear with the Ingrams and the Scientology and praise Zenu and L. Ron Hubbard. and watch some music videos and make it rain in a club and send donations to David Icke, Alex Jones, and Brief, and and metaphysicians, and hoping that they can change it to a beam light, you know, and yeah, and be down with Nibiru and the Anunnakis. That's what they're gonna
Yeah,
do.
that's. I mean, to me, I want to know. I want to know what you did in your community today, or not even your community. Make it smaller. What about your family? And if you don't do anything to improve your family, just start with yourself. What did you do to improve yourself today? You can take that model, and we're supposed to be cultivating a better. You're supposed to master yourself before you can lead anybody else or affect change anywhere. So if in yourself, you're not coping in healthy ways with your emotions, you're not having healthy eating habits, you're not active, you're not,
Yeah, thank you.
working, you're not working on your childhood trauma, you're still having the same fights and issues and emotional problems that you've been having for the past 40 years. If you're not improving your own life, what difference does it make if there's a reptile somewhere, or if there's a Nibiru, or if you
Well,
see what I'm
that's the
trying to say?
problem. Yeah, that's the problem with the world. Like I be saying over and over, everybody want to have these discussions, and it's fairy tale for the majority of the part. They don't want to deal with reality and the things that really matter to help their communities, their family, their everyday life situation. You know what I'm saying? Like I already said that 100 times, and that's why we don't have all kind of discussions too. So.
And we still eat ourselves to death every day. We still drink and smoke ourselves to death every day. We still beat our kids. All these things that are the maladies of society, the degradation of humanity, we still are acting out because there's
You know,
a very
I hear you, but the things that the childhood trauma. I can talk about that. In order to push our Scientology stuff, and we don't really have the best eating habits, but I rather people don't eat that well than just rape their children, or their baby mama's children, like the Hebrew Israelites do, because they're being protected, man, by the conscious community. And Pan Africans also have been defending rapists and pedophiles for years. So then those children who are raped, some of them commit suicide when they grow up, or they turn into crime, and they have some anger that never goes away. There's no healing. It's a vicious circle, man.
serious,
And some of them end up
serious,
molesting or raping people as well. But with this
serious.
conscious community, we have seen and documented for months that the convicted rapists or convicted child molesters are invited, respected, and they teach the people. But that was just on the side note.
No, that's not the side note. That's the note. I think that that's why I called back, because I realized you were starting to work towards that conversation, and I just wanted to throw that in. But I gotta go, man. I appreciate y'all. I'll be around. Y'all keep
Yeah,
keep
thank you.
building.
Thank you for calling.
Peace.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace. All right. Well, okay. It's midnight right now on my end.
Yeah.
And I guess we can call it a day. It's been 2 hours. Now we have something that we can use whenever any of these people say, that's Afrocentric. You guys are Afrocentric. You mean like Champollion? Who called the European savage? Is that what you mean? I also shared another quote from Champollion. Ancient Egypt taught the arts to Greece, because, when there's the book Stolen Legacy, they're like, oh, that's Afrocentric, you know? And they hear Black Athena, oh, that's Afrocentric. All right, okay, what about Champollion?
Yeah, facts.
I'm giving you admonitions, brothers and sisters, but if you don't like this admonition, the uh, scholarly arguments or admonition, then hey, you can go and get them young, like those people do over there. You know what I'm saying? You can just do the Gaga Google scholarship. You can drink your alkaline water and wear your crystals that will protect you from this metaphysical negative energy, and be happy ever after. You can astral project out of the danger whenever you see fit, because some people know how to do that. They have mastered that. You know what I'm saying? Some people have been abducted by aliens, and then they were changed. They got some ability that they never had before. I mean, you have some for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard, I have bad character. You know what I'm saying? So beware of Frenchie. I have bad character ever since I've been clearly against shamanization. That people realize that it was just a few months ago,
Yeah,
but it's been over
before
10
that.
years. It's been over 10 years I've been against shamanization, and I've been talking about it. But go ahead, young Harold.
No, I was saying before that they didn't feel that way, did they?
Yeah, for strange reason, before I disagree with them, they didn't feel that way. But now, now that I disagree, man, you're this, you that, oh yeah, okay, it comes with the territory. It's always like that.
Yeah, such is life, man.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun, man.
You know.
So thank you, young Harold, for being there. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for being in the chat. And I'm going to make my closing remarks as usual. Stay safe, stay healthy. If I'm allowed to, by the next year, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue. I said facts. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you know better, you will do better. If you do not think right, you will not act right. Where to do an hotel.
Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving medical nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, Before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody is interested in learning the Meta Nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Neture classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class, and all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Neture class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/Ma'at Forever.